Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled A-N-D, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Our first coincidence miracle today is from a listener who said that she got an idea one day after meeting with a couple of her friends that the 3 of them should get together and make a 9-day novena of prayers to St. Joseph and ask St. Joseph in heaven to request and ask for help from God on their behalf for some friends of theirs who were having financial problems and also some illnesses and surgeries, etc. So I guess there were enough friends with problems so that 3 of the people who knew about this decided to make a novena. And those of you who don't know, a novena is a 9 days of prayer. You know, you might pray for 10 or 15 minutes every day for 9 days in a row when you're asking a saint in heaven to help from heaven, send help from heaven. So she was inspired to do that, and they were making this novena to St. Joseph, and she met with her friends in a city that was not familiar to her. And as she was driving home, the way she took to get back home, she wound up thinking how this was such a great thing that they had all just done, and she was sure that God was pleased with they're going to be praying for 9 days together. And she looked up and she saw that she was on a road, and the name of the road the sign there was St. Joseph's Street. So there she was on St. Joseph's Street while she was thinking about, she just agreed with her friends to have a 9-day novena to St. Joseph. Our next coincidence miracle is from a listener who tells us that he was reflecting on some of our past shows, and he made a conscious decision that he was going to start asking God more often to help him before he makes decisions, to ask God to inspire him and give him ideas before he makes final decisions on things. He was going to do that more often, as we have been suggesting for a while. So that was a conscious decision. And later that night, when he sat down to watch TV, he asked God which channel to look at, and he got inspired to watch a different channel for some reason. And when he put it on, he found out that there was a minister on there preaching, and that's exactly what the minister was talking about, how important it is to ask God to help us make decisions. We wind up making better decisions. So it certainly was a coincidence miracle, and I know we've heard many like this over the last 2 years, but it's good to be reminded that we should do this more and more often. Ask God to inspire us what to do and when to do things in His timing, and that's how we'll experience more and more coincidence miracles. Our next story is pretty amazing, and I've spoken to other people in my life who've experienced things like this. So before I tell you this coincidence miracle, I'd like to just reinforce what I've been saying for the last 2 years. Our show is not about religions. We're not trying to tell you to join any religion, but, miracles are happening to all different religions. So one thing I'd like to mention is we get a lot of input from a lot of people from different religions, and I know factually, based on all the notes I read and the people I talk to, that these miracles come to people no matter what religion they're in. They believe in God. They ask God questions. Some of them don't have a religion. Some of them do have a religion. And there's all different kinds of religions. So when I'm talking about miracles that happen that people share with us, their specific religion, their particular religion, might be getting discussed in the question. So I just want to apologize if that annoys anybody, because maybe you don't agree with that religion, maybe you dislike that particular religion, etc., etc. So let's just be open to the fact we're talking about God, and if the person is experiencing miracles in their own religion, well, that's fine, and you'll experience miracles in your own religion as well. Miracles come from God, and God is present in many different religions. So now I'll share a story which is about one person in one particular religion, and I've heard this kind of thing happening to other people. Turns out that one of our listeners stopped into a church to pray in a church they had never been inside before. They were in a new city. They liked the outside of the church. They thought they would go in for a visit, so they went inside to pray. And an amazing thing happened to them. And as I say, I've heard this happen to other people, similar things like this. When they went in to pray, they found a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary in that church, which was very unique, extremely unique, because they're very accustomed to all the pictures and statues they've seen of the Blessed Virgin Mary in various churches for many years. And there are a lot of common types of statues about the Blessed Virgin Mary and a lot of common portraits and pictures. And so this one was tremendously unique. He never saw it before. And the thing that was unique about it was that Mary was dressed in current modern attire. She was not dressed the way you see her in most of the statues and pictures you'll see in history around the world. She was dressed in current modern attire, so she looked like an average woman you would see walking down the street in New York City or shopping at the mall. And so he knelt down to say a prayer, and he had a tremendously powerful experience, because what happened while he was praying was, he says, it was as if all of the prior statues and pictures that he had seen in his life, maybe 100 or 150 different pictures and statues he saw in his life, while he was there praying, these pictures and statues in his mind were rushing past him, coming toward him in his mind and passing by like an oncoming train, he says, an oncoming train speeding by him. And all these statues were disappearing into behind him. And when it stopped, all he saw was, in his mind, this statue, which was carved out of stone. It was life-size, apparently something like 5.5 feet high. And he burst into tears of joy, and he shares with us that what he experienced was that in all the years he had been praying at statues of the Blessed Virgin Mary, they were replicas, they were images to remind him. But suddenly, for a brief moment, he said, he felt as if he was actually praying to the real presence, the real person, because he had his eyes closed, because now he had it the first time this was happening at this new image, this new picture of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So I guess to summarize all that, suddenly for just a brief moment, less than a minute, he felt as if he was really talking to the Blessed Virgin Mary right there in front of him. He was not just praying at a statue or at an image, and that feeling went away after he stopped praying. But just for that one blink of an eye, God was blessing him to experience what would it be like if you were actually talking to the Blessed Virgin Mary face to face. And that's what he felt like for just that one brief moment. All the statues and pictures were gone, and the real presence of Mary was there, even though he had his eyes closed. Sounds like a wonderful experience. And so I hope many of you experienced that in your life. Certainly sounds like a wonderful experience. Oh, and I should add that he said that when he left the church, got in his car to drive off, it turned out when he was following a car with a license plate number 444, and those of you who have been listening to the show know that the number 444 is the number in history that writers use when they're referring to the Blessed Virgin Mary. So this is an amazing coincidence. He has this experience praying to the Blessed Virgin Mary, asking her to talk to Jesus on his behalf. That's why you pray to Mary, is you ask her to go to her son Jesus and put in a good word for you. And so after he does that, he prays to the Blessed Virgin and asks for her help. He's driving home right after he leaves the church, and he notices he's following a car with a license plate 444. That's pretty amazing. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you at the beginning of this story, he indicated in his note that before he went to the church, he had been out shopping for something, and the bill came to $14.44, and he didn't make much of that, didn't even think about it until he got home after this whole experience, because after seeing the license plate and then getting home and noticing that the thing he purchased before he went to the church had a cost of $14.44, that was seeing the number 444 twice. Now, I know if you're not into numbers, this might be a little much, but if you are into numbers, he had 3 4s before the miracle, and he had 3 4s after the miracle, and the miracle was about the Blessed Virgin Mary. So for him, anyway, it's an astounding, flabbergasting miracle. Our next miracle story is from a regular contributor, and she always has wonderful stories. I'm excited about this one. Her daughter-in-law was pregnant, and it was time for her daughter-in-law to give birth, so her son and daughter-in-law rush off to the hospital. This was going to be their first child, and both of them were familiar with the hospital. I think one of them works at the hospital. So they rush off to the hospital. They know where the delivery room is. They go into the hospital. They had to go through 5 doors, she says, 5 doorways that are normally locked, and I guess they had to go up in an elevator. But they walk into the hospital. There's nobody there at the reception. They're panicking about the baby is coming. It's time to get, to the delivery room. So they went to the first door, and the door was open. It wasn't locked as normal. And I guess they took the elevator and got to the first door. They had to go through 5 doors. All 5 of them were open. No problem getting through them. They got to the delivery room, and, they're in a state of panic, their first child. And the nurses said, "How did you get here so quickly? Didn't they stop you anywhere?" And the nurses found out, no, there was nobody there. There wasn't anybody at the doors, and the doors weren't locked, and they made it all the way up to the delivery room. And labor started immediately. As soon as she got to the delivery room, and she delivered the baby in something like 45 minutes after that moment, so they cut it pretty close. It certainly sounds like a coincidence miracle to me. God bless you all. I will talk to you all next week.